Alright guys, welcome to part 3 on the 2006 Yamaha YFZ450. As you can see, it's all torn apart and all the parts are over here for it. Last video we tore it all apart because the case half on the left side of the motor was cracked, and so we took it all the way down to the engine, took the engine out of the frame, and we're going to replace the case half today. You can see the broken part right there by the clutch. So that's not too good. Everything else on the engine was pretty good. So we took the clutch off last video as well. So we're all ready to take the flywheel off. We've got the flywheel puller right here. We just bought Tusk. This is 33 by 1.5. So that'll go on there and we can take the flywheel off. And we got the case half over here. We actually bought the whole case. These came with the bearings as well. Bearings are good. This was taken off a running machine. And we've got the other half in there. A couple people in the comments said that you can't just use the half of it because they're matched stamped engine cases. So just in case it doesn't match up with this one, we bought the whole case, and this was $500 for these case halves. So we've got those, and then we've got the gasket kit right here. So that's the whole top and bottom end gasket kit for that, for the YFZ. So we're all set to go to take the engine apart. Going to be a lot of work. Hopefully we can just use the case half and not have to replace both the case halves, but you know, if we do, it is what it is. I'm looking over everything else. Everything looked pretty good, so it should be a pretty smooth operation once we get that case split. Let's go try to find my case splitter here. For the case splitter, I'm using the Tusk crankcase splitter. I think this thing's like $100 on eBay. That's what it looks like. Makes it a lot easier to split the cases, and I highly recommend anyone that's doing this kind of work buys one of these. Have not had a problem with it bending or anything. So these are really high quality tools and work really well. Alright. I'm just going to twist on here like this. Should pop right off. Gave us a little trouble, but able to get it. It was on there pretty tight. Get the Woodruff key out of here. One way bearing looks good. And this timing chain guide was all chewed up, so we got a new timing chain guide as well. We can install. timing chain coming off. Alright, now we can start taking apart some of this stuff. Alright, coming over to the clutch side, we have to get this whole gear off right here. To do that, we put a bar through the crank so that it can't go back down. And we're just going to take an impact and get those off. They'll just come off like that. Right, now this dot's gonna have to line up when you put it back together. So let's just see where that lines up. So you can see the two dots right here are lining up. So sprocket come off. That can come out. Counter shaft. Let's put your sprocket back on. Taking out the outside perimeter bolts. It's being held on by something. Alright, so right here it's getting caught up. You can see the rest of the case is being split pretty easily. But right here it's a little bit tricky. So we're going to pound on it with a hammer, try to get that to loosen up a bit. And then this case should come right off. Alright, case half off. It wasn't too bad. This is where it was getting hung up. You can see all this powder came out of it, so it must have been a little corroded in there. But crank is really nice on this thing. Gears all look good. I'll have to inspect them later, but everything looks good so far. We'll take off this filter and clean it out as well. Alright, here is the case half we took off. As you can see down here, there's some pieces of the cam chain tensioner guide right here. Bunch of pieces. No metal shavings or anything yet, but a lot of that guide was in there. So it's good we're doing this anyway, because those pieces would have gotten lodged eventually. Probably wouldn't have caused too much damage, but you never know. Looking at all the gears and everything looks really nice. I don't see flat spots or anything, or any wear marks or any metal shavings anywhere, so everything looks really good on here. Crank is really smooth, like very smooth, so that's good. We're going to take off the filter now. Take a look in there. You can see on the bottom there's a filter. Then kind of clean this out with some brake cleaner, and then we'll get the new case half ready. So we're just going to lube up these bearings right here with some oil, and then we'll try to put this case half onto this half, because that would save me a lot of work. Hopefully it matches up and is perfect. That would be awesome. You can see there's a little wear right here from a chain, but it doesn't go through, so that's good. We'll get this filter off of here next. Take a look at that. Make sure it's still good. Clean her out. Looks like the filter's pretty clean in there. This should just pop right off. Probably need a screwdriver. Oh man, look at the big piece of plastic I found in there. That's from the cam chain guide. Another big piece of plastic in there. It's a good thing we're cleaning all this stuff out. You don't need any plastic chunks getting in your way. Alright, case is all cleaned off. We're going to put some Yamaha bond on the outside of the case, so that seals to the other case half. Alright, case half going on. So I'm using the tusk puller tool. This will pull the cases together. Alright, case halves are together. We're going to wait like maybe 20 minutes before we pinch the cases together, just so that gasket maker can dry a little bit. Alright, so we got to get the counter shaft in, we've got to get the flywheel back on, and we've got to get the timing chain and timing chain guide back on. The gasket maker is dry now, you can see. so it's all ready to be reassembled. We're going to skip ahead, and I'll come back when everything's back on, because you guys saw me take it apart. It's basically just putting it back on in the same order I took it off. Alright, we got the clutch back on, we got the flywheel back on. We're about to put this case cover back on, and we just wiped it down with some brake cleaner, and we're about to put that on. We got the new gasket for this, so we'll install that next. Alright, we're going to put a little Yamaha bond around here. Let's first see if this thing fits. Hopefully it does. Looks like it will. Alright, bottom end of the engine is all complete and put back together. Everything rotates smoothly. So we gotta get this in the machine next. Gotta get the machine out of here and install the engine. Everything works perfect on it. New cover's looking good on it. You can see we can order up a new case saver for it, and then this thing will be good to go. Everything went smoothly. So let's install it into the quad next. Alright, so as you guys know, the stator on this machine was wrecked. You can see the bolt for the flywheel came off that attached the one-way bearing. So I Loctited those back in. So we're going to replace the stator now. Got a brand new stator here. Bought this from Amazon. So I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but the reviews look pretty good. So that should just go right in there. We got to get the old one off though. Chunk of something in there. We're gonna quick clean this out. Looks like it went like that. And the pickup coil. Alright, stator's all back on. Alright, we got the piston on, time to get the cylinder on. We lubed up the piston with some oil, and then we lubed up the cylinder walls with some oil as well. Get this guy on here. Alright, so torquing these down, we go to 22 foot-pounds and then back it off. So minus 22. And then you want to torque them to 14 foot-pounds and then do a couple cranks on them just to tighten them up from there. And that's basically because we're doing a new gasket, so it's to kind of seat the gasket, and if you were to use new bolts as well. So that's kind of why they have you do that. So let's do that. I'm going to torque them to 14 foot-pounds. And like another 90 degrees. Alright, those are all torqued down. We've got the timing mark at the T up in here. So we're going to rotate this until it lines up with the T mark. You guys kind of know what that looks like. It's just a little mark. And then the piston will be at the top of the cylinder. So take a screwdriver, check where the piston is, just to make sure that's at the top. And next we're going to get the cams in place. Alright, so the timing marks on the exhaust cam. You can see there's a little dot right here that needs to be parallel with the surface of this cylinder. And then there's a little dot right here that's kind of pointing off at like a 45-degree angle there towards the front of the quad. And then there's a dot right here that needs to be with the surface of the head. And there's one straight up and down. So that's kind of how those are lined up. And then you've got your T in here at top dead center. So that's kind of how that works. And when you put the tensioner in, it'll tighten down and everything will be perfect. Alright, the whole engine's put back together. We've got the battery in here. Let's see if we've got some spark now. Hopefully we do. Alright, let's see what happens here. Please have spark. Oh yeah. Good spark. Alright, that's fixed. So the flywheel was a little damaged. I was a little bit worried about that, but looks like we have good spark, so we'll see if it starts up here. We have to add oil to it yet, and coolant, and get all the plastics back on it, but it's getting closer. Alright, everything is put back together on this thing. All the plastics are on. It's time for an oil change. Hopefully the case doesn't leak at all. This thing takes 2 quarts of oil. Alright, so on the Yamahas, it takes half a quart in the actual engine and then the other 1.5 quarts in the oil tank. Alright, oil change is done. Now we gotta add some coolant to it and then attempt the first start. Alright, let's turn her on. Get the choke on. I gotta pull. It's like a manual choke. Doesn't stay on. First start. Let's see what happens here. Running pretty good. Ooh. Heard a little bit of a squeaking. That's not good. Don't know what that was. Alright, looks like we're leaking some oil out of the chain right here. Don't know what's going on there, but it's leaking oil pretty good. Huh. That's really odd. Wonder if we were like missing the seal in there or something. We'll take that off and take a look, but leaking oil pretty good out of there. Hopefully there's not a crack or something in the case. That would suck. Alright, we were missing the little washer that goes in there. So, no more leaking now. Alright, well that wraps up the case swap on the 2006 Yamaha YFZ450. Turned out pretty good. Not a single leak coming from it, so that is awesome. I was a little worried about a leak coming from the cases where they meet, but nothing yet, so that's awesome. No leaking anywhere else, so I'm pretty confident that it's all sealed up nicely, and it should be because we use Yamaha and they recommend using Yamaha. So, I mean, we should be all set to go. Next video, we'll take a ride in this thing and see how she goes. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And until next time, we are out.